guys, it's Dana and it's time to talk about money. And in this video, I wanted to talk about using up every drop of a product to help extend the life of it so that we can save money. So let's get to it. Okay, so recently in a video, I was talking about how I like to use every last drop of my hand soap and my shampoo bottles, and how when they get low, I add water so that way I can extend the life of the product and use every last drop. So for example, I have my coconut oil hydrating mist spray that I love so much. And basically this stuff just smells so good. It's for your hair, but I just do 1 or 2 spritzes and I just think it's like a perfume. Like it just smells so good. I love coconut oil. So anyway, so when this gets down low, I just add some water to it and shake it up, and it just sort of extends the life of the product because then I don't use it, as quickly. And yeah, it has water in it, but it still has the smell of the coconut oil. So this is, just one example of where you can do this to extend the life of your products. You don't have to buy them as often and spend as much money on them. So I highly recommend doing that. Okay, so next is food scraps. Obviously eating up as much of the food that you have, utilizing it all, meaning, so for example, if you are peeling potatoes, don't throw out the potato skins. You can certainly bake them or put them in your air fryer and make, a snack of potato crisps of potato skins. Also with onions, use up the scraps of onions. It can make a great base for soups. And so there's a lot of different things you can use with your food as you're preparing. So don't throw things out immediately, maybe save it, and there might be some other way you can utilize that in a recipe the next day or later on for a later meal. And also leftovers, right? So of course we should be probably, saving our food and eating them the next day if we have any leftovers. I'm surprised how many people just don't do this. I actually think that leftovers taste better than they did originally when it first was fresh. I don't know, I really like it. Maybe it's because the flavors can kind of meld together, but I really enjoy leftovers, especially Chinese food leftovers. But yeah, so trying to save anything that's left from a meal or from your own meal, just kind of sticking it in a little container and saving it and trying to eat it up the next day will definitely save you money. Oh, and then, so also with leftovers, let's talk about like stale food. So if you have stale bread, don't immediately maybe throw out that bread. You can chop it up and turn it into croutons. Or if you see things are close to their expiration date, maybe you want to do, which I've done before, is a clean out your fridge meal. So basically take everything out of your fridge that is about to expire soon and make it a challenge for yourself to make some kind of dish or meal with all of those products. Tea bags. I am a huge tea drinker. When I go into the office, and this is not even my tea, but when I go into the office at work, I usually take one cup of tea with 1 tea bag, and then as I finish it up, I go back to the kitchen and fill it up with hot water again with that same tea bag. And I use that same tea bag all day, so I'm not wasting tea bags. And then at home too, for a long time we did tea time after dinner. And so if you've got multiple people having cups of tea, maybe just 1 tea bag, steep the first teacup for a minute or 2, and then the next one for 2 or 3 minutes, and then you kind of just extend it. But you can definitely get more than 1 cup of tea out of 1 tea bag. So something to consider. Or like I said, if you're having multiple cups of tea, or in my mind, I'm like, it's just 1 cup of tea. Even if I fill that 1 cup up like 6 times with hot water in the same day, it's still the same amount of caffeine because it's like the 1 tea bag, right? So that's how I get away with having like 6 or 7 cups of tea a day, but it's still the 1 tea bag. So hopefully it's minimizing my caffeine level. So when things are broken, maybe don't just throw it out. Like try to think of some ways that you can repurpose that broken item. So, you might be able to utilize it out in the garden as a planter, or perhaps, you can repurpose it. One time I had a frame that kind of had broken, but I painted it and put some little hooks on it to hang jewelry on it. So there might be some other ways you can take the wood from the product or the parts from the product and put it into something else and get crafty with it. And then it could be something really unique and a way to kind of customize your home or your space, or just consider some other things to do with that item before you just go ahead and get rid of it. So yeah. Soap bars. So some of you were telling me in the comments when I was talking about the hand soap bottle that I should be using soap bars. And yes, soap bars are awesome. If you're using soap bars and it gets down to the end, you don't need to throw out that soap piece. You can either kind of put it into a dish, a whole bunch of pieces together, and add a little bit of water and melt it up, and then stick it in a container to create liquid hand soap, or you can kind of soften them up and meld them together to create a new bar of soap. So you don't have to necessarily throw out your little nub of a piece of bar soap. Or if you have Irish Spring or a soap like that, and you're having a deer problem out in the garden, like I'm having right now, then you could maybe take that little piece of soap and put it in a mesh bag and hang it out in the garden to try to discourage the deer from coming in your area. Although I don't think that really works for us. Our deer don't seem to care, but maybe your deer do. All deer herds are different preferences and tastes and smelling. Yeah. So something to try with your pieces of soap. Repurpose your old towels. Use that towel up till it's like completely fallen apart. So, if you put your towels in the dryer, which we've talked about recently, but then it's probably pretty quick that you're going to notice the corners or it's fraying on the side. So unfortunately that happens, but what you can do instead of just tossing that towel is rip it apart and turn it into washcloths for washing your car or for cleaning your home, or even take those old towels, which is what I do, back to the garden, and you can take those towels to drape it over to protect your plants from frost if you have tender growth, or you see some flower buds emerging in the springtime and you have a frost advisory. You could take that old towel and just drape it over your plant to protect it from the frost. So I definitely, towels, I think they have so much use. Or even just taking that towel and putting it into your car in case you need it for some reason to lean on, to sit on. So I don't really get rid of towels until they're like completely see-through, because there's always a purpose for a towel. And like Arthur Dent from the Hitchhiker's Guides, you always need to have a towel with you, in my opinion. So containers, if you have any kind of container, whether it's like a jelly jar, sometimes there's some really beautiful glass jelly jars. You use up all the jelly, you can wash that out and you can utilize that, as a glass or to drink water out of, or for a vase for flowers, or as a vessel or container for organizing. Maybe you're going to organize your garage and you want to put some screws and nails in it. Or things around the house, Q-tips, you could use it in your bathroom as a container for that. So so definitely think about how you could reuse, especially if it's a glass container. It's like, I don't know, I feel like it's a shame to get rid of those, like spaghetti jars even, like you can use those, like clean them all out, get the label off, and you could definitely put some items in there for sure. Okay, so coffee, if you have coffee grounds, I don't ever throw out coffee grounds. So if you've had the bag of coffee for a while, you're not going to be drinking it, then I always take those coffee grounds and I sprinkle them out again outside in the garden. If you have hydrangeas, I love hydrangeas. They're all over the place in my yard. But especially if you have the macrophylla, mophead hydrangeas, the ones that turn pink or blue, if you take them and you sprinkle those coffee grounds down around that, then it might help you to acidify the soil and turn the flower blooms blue. So something to consider, that it's good for your garden and it's not going to hurt anything. So maybe just take those coffee grounds and sprinkle them around outside. Speaking of that, if you have egg cartons, you can use them for seed starting. So you can take your egg cartons, just poke some holes in the bottom, fill it with soil, and put some seeds in if you have some grow lights. Especially this time of year in the winter, it's definitely a great time to be doing that. Same thing if you have gallon water jugs or milk gallons, you can wash that out and you can use that also for seed sowing. You can poke holes in the bottom, fill it with soil, put in your seeds, and then you kind of slash the top of it, and then you put the top back on and tape it up, leave the lid off. You can stick it outside, leave it outside during the winter, and then in the spring you'll have stuff growing. It's kind of really exciting. So I wouldn't throw those out if you have any interest in gardening or it's something you're looking to get into. But yeah, so there's other things you can do with those plastic gallon containers. If you have old prescription bottles, this is something that you can use to put Band-Aids in, or like as a mini emergency medical kit for yourself in your purse. So that way, especially if you have children, or if you go to like a lot of activities, there's usually, you know, somebody around who needs a Band-Aid. So it's kind of, you have these old bottles, you can stick some, you know, first aid stuff in there, or even Neosporin, and then you can open it up out of your purse and you'd be like, oh, here you go. You can be the hero and have the Band-Aid. Cereal liner bags, you know, the plastic bags that are in the cereal boxes. So you finish the cereal and you've got the plastic bag. Well, if you are into cake decorating or cupcake decorating, then I've heard people use those plastic bags. They snip the end and they use it for icing piping. You can use it as an icing piping bag. And so those bags can be useful as well for baking, for decorating cakes. Okay, so there are so many items, right? And it's like whatever you are using. But if you have sunglasses, cases, you could reuse that to hold makeup, or, I mean, like, so there's so many products. This is not an exhaustive list at all. So if you have any items that you reuse or you use to the very end, I would love it if you would put it down in the comments, because it helps us all. It helps me tremendously to get new ideas of what I can be using and what I can be doing with those things. Obviously with different fabrics, blankets, clothes, you can rip things up and repurpose those as well. Maybe make a quilt out of scraps of fabric. So I'd love to hear from you. Please leave your ideas down below in the comments. And if you are interested in learning how I use tips from the Great Depression to save money, you can go ahead and click here. And if you do, I'll see you in that video. If not, I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.